Good evening. Today we are going to have a discussion on the poem The Freaks. The poem The Freaks by Kamala is about marriage. As we all know, she was the queen of controversial writings. She was one among those few women writers who fearlessly opened up the mind and desires of a woman. The Freaks can be considered as an autobiographical as well as confessional poem because it talks about poet's loveless marriage life. The poem begins with describing the outward appearance of poet's husband, then it moves on to the loveless and lustful nature of her husband and how their love failed without any feeling and emotions. Finally, poet calls herself and him as freaks because of their peculiar or strange relation. The poem begins with the words he talks, which is a pure indication of the patriarchal society. Only men talks and women cannot talk as she is subjugated to the norms of the male dominated society. Then she says that her husband, who is about to do lovemaking with her, turns his sun stained cheeks to her. So she is describing her husband's cheek as sunburnt, that is ugly. Then she is comparing his mouth to a dark cavern, that is a cave, and his teeth to stalactites, that is thin, long rock pieces hanging inside a cave. So she is trying to explain the ugliness of his face. These lines clearly shows the lovelessness of the poet towards her old husband as it is mentioned in this particular poem. Next, she says that he puts his right hand on her knee so as to advance for lovemaking. Both of them are mentally preparing for lovemaking, but the lack of love between them makes them fail to have a happy and healthy physical relationship. Also, their minds are lazy and fail to fulfill their desires. The poet is wondering that whether her husband, whom she addresses as this man, would be able to love her because he rapidly moves his hands over poet's skin. This shows his lack of love and lustful nature. He is not at all concerned about his wife and he is just trying to enjoy himself without having any sorts of concern for his wife. The poet is then criticizing the institution of marriage. She is speaking against the tradition of marrying of a girl to a stranger without her consent. The poet and her husband are together only because of their marriage. There is no love or care in that relationship even then they are together, and this is only because of their marriage relationship. So the poet is trying to raise her voice against the practice of marriage where two people are forced to be together without any sort of love, care, or concern. The poet's heart is longing for true love. There are personal elements in these lines because, as the poets in real, marriage is a failed one. She always longed for true love and care, which she used to portray through her writings. Even though she is longing for love, her heart is dead now. That is, she is tired of waiting, and her heart is dead for the love. It will never be able to love or be loved. Finally, she calls herself as a freak. She is trying to show off noticeable lust to her husband so that she may be able to satisfy him. But in reality, she is devoid of any sort of mental or physical love towards her husband. She is only pretending. So, the poem is the voice of a woman who is disappointed in her marriage life. The poem explains the submissive role of a woman in marriage, especially in a patriarchal society where her mental and sexual desires are crushed under the dominative nature of man. The poem is very much autobiographical as all the descriptions in the poem can be connected to her personal life. without any doubt, we can say that this is one among Kamala Das' poem, which is purely confessional and autobiographical and depicts the inner thoughts of a woman, especially the subjugated woman in a patriarchal society, in a vivid manner. Thank you.